tell, do you see the road? I'm out to my soul into the size whenever the smoke clear out of my face and my picture perfect.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the third part of, What If My Little Pony Meets BEN10? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of JBoy44 on fanfiction.net. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Kevin was in the plumber base speaking to an inmate in an orange prison outfit in a cell, with dark tan skin and a red visor over his eyes that was glowing. So care to tell me about this nasty thing we fought against alongside your old fraction Adam, he said showing a picture. Adam spoke up, well that is very simple Kevin, those are the spawn of Diagon the beast, the first knight that founded the first fraction battled. Legend says the knight armed with a magic sword given to him by some kind of dwarf allowed him to absorb the beast fire and turn it against him and his minions, locking him away deep under the earth with a magic seal. Kevin crossed his arms. Gwen had to fix a ceiling trap. The former knight sighed, then if the story is true with we have to guess at the very least a good bit of it is. I want to say the dwarf may have been a Galvan myself, but if that is the case then if it breaks we're pretty much F without the sword or something just like it. Kevin pulled out something. I'll search sword in the Galvan invention list and yep there is one made able to absorb and handle the power of stars by Azimuth F. He's old, and indirectly the reason the Forever Knights who we first met when they tried to cut a Galvan open are a thing. How ironic. The former knight in his cell said, yeah life is full of it. But look that could be an edge if the sword a prototype could lock it away possible he can make a more advanced version to handle him if the need arises. The red spot looked at him, yeah but he doesn't like to make weapons anymore and I see why from what I am hearing on how abused they were. As an owner is listed as an incursion. The ex-knight in chains held his hand up and said, say no more but we aren't asking for him to make a sword, we are asking for a shield or a net. Those aren't weapons as they are made to stop harm, they are the opposite of a weapon in fact. Kevin held his chin as he said, fine logical point very much so. I'll message Eunice and she'll tell him. I guess. Meanwhile on Primus. Eunice came up out of a PMD going back to legs in a green bikini as she spotted Azimuth in the lab she came up in. Oh Dad, we have a message. Azimuth rolled his eyes, it can't be that important. Eunice rolled her eyes, something about a sword you once made and gave to a man who then founded the Forever Knights. The old-timer turned around, okay now you have my focus, what of that old headache? Eunice looked and said, the cage the knight made with it that holds back some kind of demon thing is breaking, can you make a better cage or even a shield that can beat it? Azimuth held his chin as he said, well it clearly worked based on the energy absorption function. So depends how much energy we are talking. Go put on some cloths, we are heading to Earth Eunice. This is partly my mess, I most clean it up or I am not being a good father. Eunice grabbed a green jumpsuit with black gloves boots built in and she put it on with a belt and said, okay then let's head off Daddy. They teleported to the site list in the message. Azimuth was looking at a scanner, do you see this readings? The human lady looked down, yes it's off the charts energy readings. The Galvan used his cane to whack her head as she rubbed it and said, ouch, what was that for? The old-timer said, for looking with your eyes closed young lady. It's just energy readings, no life size, no mineral readings, just energy. So whatever it is made of energy using mass equals energy squared to convert itself to solid mass and back again. She blinked as he pinched where his nose would be if he had one, it's an energy being like Gwen and her grandma. But unlike them it knows how to make more energy beings all by itself. Eunice snapped, oh so if we make a good enough energy unit we can take the energy, convert it into another form and possible end it in the process as the new wavelength would have thought in it. Azimuth then rubbed his tendril beard as he said, well it would be more like lobotomizing it but basically that would be a similar result, only problem is the time frame to make something like that would take about a year and a month. Eunice held her chin as she tapped the batched seal, and how long will this last, she asked. Azimuth rolled his eyes, Daddy is a man of science not magic. All I can do is take a guess that has a 50% chance of being off by a month thanks to not understand magic. But about a year and 1 month is the guess. The mermaid point to the seal with one arm and her dad with another, so we can either have it done early or Ben is going to have to fight to give us time to finish. Azimuth nodded and said, that summarizes it perfectly, sweetie. But if I was a betting man with I am not anymore since I lost one of my 5 livers in one bad bet, I would say the later Ben has to hold it off will be the more likely outcome of this. Eunice blinked and put a hand on her peach. How do you lose a liver in a bet? The old frog rolled his eyes and said, I don't know, it was spring break, I hadn't had any water for a week, just booze, I was drunk out of my pea brain, I just know I woke up with the surgery scar and a thank you for letting me win my life card beside me. Explaining I bet it and the guy thinks I lost on purpose to save him. I mean I was young and foolish. Eunice blinked as she raised an eyebrow, really now? How offend those that happen in one's life? Azimuth then said, well I know of 5 case of it. Form that trip so don't mix booze, flytrap smoothies and gracehoppers, don't do it. You'll be bet an organ F up. They then teleported away as Eunice said, so what should we tell them? Azimuth was jumping to a computer to begin planning. Tell them we'll back their shield but they will probably have to hold it off for a bit before it's done. Eunice then sent that with her pad and said, and message sent. She then removed the belt and unzipped the jumpsuit, going back to her bikini as she hopped in the PND in the lab to go to mermaid form, where she swam through the crack into the ocean, and back to studying the budding natural life forms down there, form that DNA too bleak. She said, watching what looked like glowing moving bugs as she held her chin, yes it moves, so it's not a plant, but, she said using a stick to poke it, showing it was soft, not a bug despite looking like one, as that is too soft to be an exoskeleton. The bug then turned and let out a sound of, gihabadge. She rubbed her chin and said, communication with voice and sounds, yes. Interesting. Tiara was walking around Silver Spoon filming behind her as she said, and Diamond TR11 here reporting form the Levin house, she said heading into the garage, where Kevin was working on his car as he asked, and what is this? Silver Spoon then said, trying to beat Jimmy at his own game by reporting better than him. I mean we live with one of the superheroes. Kevin looked up as he said, well fair enough, one question for your little blog as I have stuff to do now. We had to arrest a general for illegally jailing aliens and we need to get everyone home. And sent the JRK to the null void, would use other words but I don't swear around kids. Tiara smiled, for the people asked how come when your car is about to crash or be ruined by doesn't Ben just upgrade it to save it? The Levin male blinked before saying, I am going to kick Ben's butt today. I have to go, thank you, he said holding back berserker rage as he got in and drove off. Later on, Ultimate Wildmutt tackled an unseen being in a cave as he said, I can smell you, show yourself, as his dial turned yellow and scanned. Gwen held out her hand, your sisters would make this easier but no, they want to pass basic training, she said holding out her hand. Using mana to reveal the alien who knocked the Ultimate back. The prisoner growled, my family is dead now because of the war, because of that man, he roared. Ben then said, and he'll be sent to the null void to die. He then hit the dial turning to normal Wildmutt before becoming blockwork to the prisoner's shock as he opened a portal to the past. It's 10 years back on your planet, 1 year before you left. You want your family back, here is the chance, go for it or shut the hell up. The prisoner jumped in crying happily, going home. Ben then timed out as he said, well that was something. Kevin then punched Ben in the head, that is for not upgrading my car to save it, man. Thank the internet for that one. The unicorn got up as he said, gee man. Thanks for not absorbing stone when you did that. Later on, Ben was using his new alien chameleon to hide form a forever night in his own home as he snuck up and stung him in a gap in the new armor, knocking him out before he timed out. Okay mom, dad, and little sister out. He then turned to Big Chill and breathed ice upon the night, so when he woke up, he was frozen on the ground in the Tennyson family garage as Ben said, hey now, he removed his helmet, do you want to tell me what this purge bullshit is? The knight didn't speak, so Ben put a bucket by the garden hose, fill it up and pulling out a old shirt, then we waterboard. Later on, Ben was in his car driving as he used hand-free. I am just so happy Mr. Bauman hired you, Jessica, but the knights said the fractions are now one thanks to old Gorge returned. Jessica then spoke up, so I am hiding in some dirty basement with the plumber helpers and other aliens because a living fossil make the forever knights an army. Carl's voice then came up, listen Ben, if it's a war and this guy is as old as he seems, you will do things the formal way. You just have to challenge him. Ben nodded as he drove off saying, okay, Gwen and Kevin are holding them off, so be it. But where would he be? He then looked to a medieval museum shaped like a castle. It was closed long ago. Ask a stupid question, he said, turning the wheel to ram the car through a wall where he spotted the table of the knights as Ben stepped out. You want a war? Let's make it formal. The knights stopped. George got up as he said, the lad is right, we most do this with honor. I am Sir George, the first knight leader of this army. Ben copied the action he got out. I am Ben Tennyson, representative of all aliens on this planet, he declared with pride. Both parties bowed as Sir George. One battle with both our armies. If we lose our purge ends till we challenge you again. We win, all of you most leave this world. Ben put his hands in his pocket. Sounds fair to me. You're the elder, you pick the location and date. The old man pulled out a calculator. Let's see, I am going to want my sword back, so 6 months the pit in the desert outside of Bellwood, 1 year and 1 month form now, so you may ready as well for honor combat. Ben held his hand out and said, sounds fair. You going to shake on it or you not going to dirty your hands to seal the deal? The old knight shocked it as he said, honor comes first. Old George called out, call back our soldier, our crusade has become a formal war. The aliens ask for trial by combat in a formal battle. We shall answer this request with our pride as knights and face them in 1 month, 1 year's time. You shall not see my force till that date, Tennyson. Ben nodded as he said, and may the same be set for my forces. But I'm just a representative, I can only speak the words they all agree on with is let's make this a formal war so we may fight back. The old man said, yes, that's the problem with modern government. Kings are need this day and age. Kings not voice, he declared, pointing at Ben. The unicorn just got back into his car and drove off saying, see you then, old timer. He saw the knights falling back as Ben hit a button. It worked. They agreed to a formal war. The pit outside Bellwood, 1 year and 1 month form now is our D-Day. Jessica then spoke up, at least we're safe for now. But come on, they are knights with only weapons. How many of us have superpowers? Ben then spoke up and said, yes, that I have used in the public eye. With this amount of prep time we would need a miracle to win. Look, I don't want to say it, Jessica, but we have a year. Let's get evacuation plans make up in that time. Just in case. That is when little Megan started crying and Ben growled, hanging up. God damn it, knights, he said, slamming the wheel as he said, you want to take it all for me? Well, you won't. I can't. I am fighting for too many lives. Too much family to let them all down. Meanwhile, in their lair, the first knight sat down as he said, say what you want about the dirty beast, but at least he has manners. Well, relatively speaking, of course. The knights all nodded. Yes, a war, a good old-fashioned war. Of honor. Not just blowing SHT up like crazy or shooting like made men. A true battle of warriors. Oh, how long it's been. It makes this old bones feel young again, my soldiers. They all cheered, banging energy maces on their energy shields, making sounds at the declare as he said, it will be a glorious day where the just win and banish the evil away forever. At Mr. Smoothie, Pinkie Pie shined the medal for improvising she got in basic training as she said, so we have a formal declaration of war between the Forever Knights and Plumbers. Ben nodded when his phone beeped and he picked up. Oh, Eunice, what's up? On Spider-Monkey's home planet, Eunice was running form DNA alien arachnikimps, Simeon F. up. The bad monkey sold a DNA alien queen to a mob boss, and now the boss is turning everything into DNA aliens to rule the planet. Currently running for my life, I need a DNA sample of an unaffected spider monkey. So could you warp in and save AB? She said as a goo spit fired off, hitting her phone as she jumped diving into a river, going mermaid on impact as she said, F hiding in the cold water. Before long, Ben as clockwork stepped out with Pinkie Pie onto the planet, and Pinkie Pie pointed, look, her ship. We just need to make it there. She said happily. Ben soon timed out as he said, come on, the watch simple said, interference form other primus link, he face-palmed, Fu Eunice. You're cyborg but is blocking me. In a moment the hive of DNA alien spider monkeys showed up as Pinkie said, gross, they are even sicker than you made them sound, the slime spit then came. They ran the opposite they need to as Ben said, we're F. Wait I just remembered something important, he said making an energy dome around them so they couldn't be touched, I am AF unicorn. Pinkie Pie put a hand on her peach. And said, well I won a medal for it so here is my made on the fly plan we need undamaged sample. And we have to get to the ship. Now Simeon is chicken monkey. So I highly doubt he ran off to fight he had to hide. Ben walked with her under the dome as the monkeys banged on it, so you're saying he is in the ship the monkey we need. And Eunice is being chased as he sold her out. Pinkie Pie nodded as she cartwheeled along on the rope bridge as the dome protected them formed slime spits, and mutant monkey punches. Ben shrugged, makes sense to me I guess, he said as they turned to head the way of the ship and before long they made it and put the door in the energy shield and the two stepped on. Ben closed the door and dropped the energy shield. He then jumped when he heard a monkey scream in pain to see Pinkie had put Simeon in a headlock with her super strength as she said, go to sleep bad little monkey so we can use your DNA to clean up your mess just go to sleep. The monkey soon passed out as Pinkie Pie put him on a platform and connected the wires to him. Ben then flipped a SWCH marked go, at least she has everything in simple mode. In a moment the bad monkey screamed in pain as he was shocked as a DNA wave was fired off burning them the parasites off the monkeys restoring them to normal. The mob boss who was acting as queen screamed at his loss of power only to be eaten by a root shark a moment later. In the river Eunice came out reforming her legs as she smiled heading back to her ship, they did it. At her ship she saw Pinkie Pie and Ben standing there as she said, guys you didn't have to wait for me, she said friendly. Pinkie Pie crossed her arms, yes we did, she then pulled out a megaphone to yell, your pink TP Primeus is blocking the Ultimatrix mode locking my Borther. Stranding US till you either take US home or turn off the goddamn link. Yunsi's hair was messed up and blown back as she blinked and said, and it's off, the Ultimatrix then came back online. In a moment Ben became clockwork again as he said, I will remember this, as he opened a portal and said, also the bad monkey is tied up in your ship. As the two Tennysons left Eunice walked in and smiled as she opened the door to see the monkey tied to a chair and smirked, so you think this is funny well nice flash I'm a mermaid. Now one of two things happens when you meet a mermaid. 10 minutes later Simeon was trying to swim up screaming in horror as mermaid form Eunice was pulling him down just to let him back up as she winked, not going to kill him just going to scare the FSHT out of him for another 10 minutes. Don't worry. Later on back on Earth. A video call was coming on and Fluttershy answered to see a lady with tan skin brown long hair green eyes. In blue sleeve-like gloves glue strapless dress black stockings blue cowgirl boots and a cowgirl hat. She was cute but not in the scales of Gwen as she tapped the monitor, can you see me there cousin? Fluttershy seemed confused but the lady said, right first time seeing me I am Cinnamon Tennyson dead name Kenny Tennyson Gwen's big sister who thanks to being born in the wrong body didn't get the anodite magic with his bullshit. The yellow mare jumped, oh sorry now I remember well cousin what can I do for you? The cowgirl crossed her arms as she spoke. Well as you may remember my parents kicked us out when I came out. But since that day I find my way in Vegas my last name gives me a lot of street credit. I have this theater where I hire people in the same boat as me who are being discriminated against because of being born in the wrong skin. But I've been getting a lot of threatening letters. She said pulling one out and holding it up, not about the born in the wrong body bullshit but on my alien heritage. And as you can see it has a Forever Night seal on it. So I don't think they are all waiting for the war to start. Fluttershy covered her mouth as she said, oh my. The Tennyson lady then said, so now I hate to ask for help from you guys mostly as the heat will be murder on you thanks to your fur. But I have no powers I am a helpless lady with letters about forever knights wanting to cut me open with their swords. The mayor got up and smiled, don't worry cousin I'll tell everyone and we'll be in Vegas in no time. An hour later the family portal traveled to Vegas. For some reason Twilget and Rarity came out in showgirl outfits, tops that matched their manis, buttons, black stockings, heel boots the color of their manis, sleeve-like clothes that color, feather on the buttons covering their tails same color as their manis, and head feather outfits. Sandra rolled her eyes. I would think Pinkie Pie would do that, as she adjusted Megan. Pinkie Pie had a box and said, "Don't worry, I have one, and one for the rest of us Tennyson's women, even you, Mom. And one for Jessica when she comes, hers is all green." Wait, it's a Vegas show theater, we need to be undercover, for crying out loud. Ben then opened the portal again and Jessica came out in the showgirl outfit in all green, blushing as she said, "I'm so sorry Pinkie, apparently I match Mommy Lucy in size and both my moms already had one form their time here." Apparently that's how they meet, they were both showgirls. Ben shook his head as he said, "Okay, moving on. To our cousin's theater." Sure enough, Sandra and all of her adopted daughter were in the showgirl outfits, all matching their main colors, making rainbow dashes the loudest, while Pinkie's was red. Pinkie smiled as she posed for photo ops and smiled, "All the money we make charging for pictures goes to our cousin's business, saving it and plus." She smiled as she saw Cooper, Rook, Alan and Pierce jaw dropped and said, "And it shows the boys what they are fighting for to motivate them for the coming war." Sandra smiled, taking a picture with a couple who were just looking to have a picture with an alien. Rarity, Pinkie Pie, your evil genius sweeties. Fluttershy smiles and says, "Plus this pictures can motivate Discord into helping if SHT goes south." She said, smiling as she had her boyfriend, a god of chaos by human standards, wrapped around her finger like nothing. Twilight smiled and hugged Cooper, making him pass out like a crashed computer. "This is the best plan." Inside the place, as there was a tank for a mermaid play, Jessica was playing the mermaid, complete with seashell top. After all, a mermaid play with a real mermaid lead would bring people in. Meanwhile, watching it, Cinnamon formed the rafters. She looked nervous walking around. "Have faith in your family, Cinnamon." In a moment, a forever knight in the new armor in black came out, only for Ben as chameleon to appear between him and Cinnamon and hit the dial, becoming Spitter, knocking him back through a window as he hit the dial, becoming Big Chill as he said, "Never underestimate the power of bad mail. Never underestimate it." The human Tennyson shivered and said, "Cross," at what point a mana wall appeared between her and the action and Carl called out, "Come here." Cinnamon held her hat down and ran to her uncle. "Okay, but I am in heel boots, damn you fashion, why can't you be functional too? Or why can't I be a magic pony lady? They can run in heels easy as SHT." Ben then hit the dial, going ultimate as he phased out and breathed ice fire on the Black Knight, leaving his helmet uncovered as he landed. In a moment he removed the helmet to see a robotic endoskeleton. A robot. Of course they would use bots to get around the war letter. They can claim you were a fake. In a moment a WHP hit him, shocking him as he growled, timing out to see another Black Knight as he made his horn flow, becoming Buzzshock, who absorbed the shock and fired it back at the knight, making it short out before he hit the dial on his chest. In a moment spikes popped out as Buzzshock became a shining ball of green thunder, sparking, and in a moment lightning hit the first one, making it arc to the second one, and formed there the lighting connection to arc, avoiding everything and anything that wasn't a robotic forever knight. Even bending out of people's way so they could walk around, breaking so many laws of common sense and reason as Ben hovered there and said, 10 there was 10 I shorted out fitting, now how do I time out? I don't have hands, or solid form. I guess I just hover as a ball of electrical energy for 10 minutes then, wait my nose itches how I don't have one of those. Well, this is what you get when you go ultimate without a test ride, kids. He said, hovering around the block to see Megan being held by one of his cousin's actresses who was in a showgirl outfit, and Megan clapped and pointed at the ball of thunder, "Big brother." Ben then said, "Yep, say nice lady who is babysitting my baby sister, can you poke my button? Come on, I have an itch and no solid mass. Come on, hit it. Hit it." The woman poked the Utah Matrix dial, making him go back to normal. Buzzshock Ben then timed himself out and scratched his nose. Oh, thank goodness. He then took Megan, who clapped as he said, "Well, this has been a day." The next day, still in Vegas, Alan and Applejack were walking around. Applejack was still in the outfit, making Alan want to speak up, but Applejack turned and showed the name of Cinnamon's theater on the back behind the feathers. "You's got to advertise right, us ain't likes it either, bow." Plus it's all we brought. Well, Wes has our normal cloths, but they got covered in sand somehow. Us think Rarity just wants us to break this in since she spent so long makings them. That is when they spotted Ben and Jessica walking over. Ben had his jacket covering the Utah matrix as he pointed to the confused Tekadon robot. Jessica smirked, giving her showgirl outfit feathers a little shake. SCK at you, tin can. That is when Vulcanus walked up pointing at Ben. He is right here. Ben smirked. Yeah, as long as my watch is covered. He doesn't know that. That's the thing about shapeshifters, it can't use face lock on. So there was only one thing: all the MES share the Ultimatrix. It doesn't see that it is not going to fire. Ben then made his horn claw so the Ultimatrix appeared on a building marked to be torn down, and in a moment the robot fired on it and the robot said, "Mission complete," and headed back into the factory, and said factory took off. Leaving the villain's jaw to drop. Applejack was laughing. "You's paid for that." "Oh man, that's funny," she said before she gave a super stronger punch to the bad guy's arm, making it fall off. The alien walked off, and again with the suit. "I hate you Tennysons, I hate you all." Ben then put his jacket back on right and looked to Alan. "Oh, so you're enjoying walking around Sin City with a showgirl on your arms? Well, show pony I guess, don't break my sister's heart now." Applejack put her palms on her peach and said, "Brother Oz can handles myself there, but thanks anyway. Now comes on Alan, going to be a long stay in Sin City, so gets used to your girlfriend in this CRP." Jessica agreed for a month stay as the star of the show while it lasts. "Don't worry, Ben can portal us back and forth so no schools is missed. Got to love portals." As they walked off, Julie walked up and said, "Hi Ben." Jessica put a hand in front of him. "He is not yours anymore, lady." Julie rolled her eyes. "I just want to talk to him about the Flame Keeper's circle." Ben rolled his eyes. "Really? I block your messages about this cult online and you track me down in person? Fine, just to shut you up and get you to leave me alone." Later on, while being giving a tour, the man in the suit said, "We believe in Diagon, an alien who will come to uplift mankind." Ben put his hands in his pocket. "Yeah, the law states you can't give tech above level of the planet, and while we do have some level 3 and 4 tech, our range is 2.5. Not much uplifting it can do. Till the average goes up." The man held his tie. "Oh, then your red spots are idiots. A golden age awaits. UPS, come to your sense, Ben." He then heard a hiss behind a door. "Wait, I know that hiss." He then became chromastone and the man screamed, "Dagon." In the tank it hissed, "Tennyson." Jessica said, "No, Vilgax, the space pirate is pretending to be your alien to trick you." The man growled, as did Julie, "Guards, our Diagon is a fake." The uniformed soldiers appeared from nowhere and summoned fireballs to make the water bowl as Ben and Jessica left. In a military bunker, a general walked in to see Ben. Jessica, who was in her showgirl outfit, Rainbow Dash in her showgirl outfit, Pierce. The spiked cover guy said, "Let's see, you got us in the middle of dealing with a civil war between cultists who still think Vilgax is Diagon Aledbo's BEN10 live show and dumping the cache data of the Ultimatrix, freeing versions of the Ultimates in Vegas. What did you expect, dude?" The general said, "Anyway, have you heard of the garbage vortex?" he said sadly. Jessica blinked and said, "You just asked a mermaid if she heard of the island made of crash people throw into waterways. Do you realize how stupid you sound right now? More stupid than I look," she said, pointing to the feather hat. "I mean, I am covered in more feathers than Dashi, and that's saying something." The general hit a button and what looked like the trash grabbing a plane was shown. It appears our microprobes that eat trash became self-aware and don't want to die out like we planned when the trash is gone. Ben rolled his eyes. "You made a living pile of trash." "Well, I can do small. Come on, let's go." Later on, the autopilot plan they were on was taken down as Ben hit a button as he jumped out, became Nanomech before going ultimate and heading into the trash. Coming up in a humanoid form made of it that made the rest set the plane down unharmed. "Everyone okay?" Mutant large seagulls came out and Dashi fly out high, kicking them as Pierce fired spikes at them. Another humanoid made of trash appeared. "How dare you take over part of me?" Ben held his hands out. "Calm yourself, man. The first rule of negotiating hostage release is take on a form the one you are talking to is comfortable around and make sure the numbers are right. I know the number of hostages now. And we are equals in power, so let's talk. What will it take to get the hostages released? The living trash. Me want food. Food no coming. Feed me, he roared. Ben held his chin. Ben thought of it. I think I might know a way to make you happy. I am going to change forms now, he said, becoming clockwork. He then opened a portal and the trash's eyes widened as it stepped through. It was a planet of junk, as he said. Welcome to Dump, an artificial planet where a whole solar system throws their trash away once a month. Only problem is some people like to reuse useful parts from their trash. On the planet what looked like with red hair, green eyes, and a beard human in overalls, a hat and a plumber badge, and this here is a red spot operation. The red spot said, I am the owner of this here salvage planet. It's just me and robots that sort what is usable or reparable with what ain't. Name's David Tennyson, by the way. Hi cousin. The plumber then put on a glove to shake Ben's current metal hand, and David said, so as long as you don't eat the robots and stick to the overflowing left-west corner of the planet where the trash can't even be burned to make power, we can be pals. The trash monster said, let me see the corner. 5 hours later on the trash, Ben was using a portal to get the people off it. As Rainbow Dash said, gee, settling it with your mind, that's new. Ben looked to his sister. Well, David was always lonely, never able to connect with humans, but aliens he gets, it's why he want to be there. At least he has a friend. Pierce was ear a hat he made of mutant seagull feathers. Yes, I did this. Before long they all walked through back to Vegas, their job done. Jessica dust off her outfit. They could have let us change first. My showgirl outfit is dirty, I need a bath and to wash this. Rainbow dust off her feather tails as she said, I know my rainbow feathers look gray, man. Ben then said, I too feel dirty, but I spent a few minutes made of trash. So that makes sense. A few days later on Dump. David was walking around when the trash monster came over and handed him something. Here, this case came over, it's still good as sheet metal, so the sort bots messed up. The trash monster then walked back to his side. The junk man smiled as he said, now that right there is an honest person. He could have eaten it, but he didn't. He wasn't a bad boy, just hungry, not wanting to eat itself to death. He spoke as he moved over happily as he noticed the Vreedle brothers showing up, and he said, what can I does you for? Octagon then put his hand to his chest. Now Weiss is some horrible sorry about this after we just became red spots, but our mama is back and forcing us to help with her plan to clone Pretty Boy, her perfect son plan, he said, drawing a firearm. Real sorry about this, but you know our mama. David nodded as he said, yeah I do. But I has something you lot don't know about. Junkie boy, we have junk thieves. In a moment a pile of trash became giant trash monster and roared. Boyd point his eyes widened. Now how's he done did that? I mean damn, as he was knocked back by Punk Fist as David said, no, these two are being forced to help the bad guest, it's their kin folk that be the bad ones. Boyd was laying on a pile of foam packaging as he said, at least he aimed for a soft spot. Ma Vreedle walked out. We need a part in good lord, what is that? She said, point to it. David smiled as he put his hand in his overall pockets. Thanks to my cousin, my junk is now a live's lady. Boyd held up a hand and said, that right there is a classic case of answer raises more questions. The junk monster picked up and smashed Ma Vreedle over and over again, making her scream in pain, something her sons jumped and hugged in fear over. As the trash monster got bigger and bigger and said, you want junk, you pay for junk like normal person. Ma Vreedle snapped her fingers. Boys pays the man and monster for a good enough battery. The monster then let go and asked, what system scale and measurement unit you need? Boyd then held up a hand, Anner, a Quentech V, and as much charged as you got. The monster pulled out the battery from his arm and held it out, that will be $50. Ma Vreedle got up and David said, you tried to rob us, there is a tax for that. The mother of all Vreedles pulled a Waller out of her handbag as she said, finds you're lucky you have a garbage monster of all things, sir. She said, handing him the money, making the monster hand her sons the brothers the batter. The next day on the edge of our world between space, Ben as Big Chill was knocking on a big up truck like UFO's window, making Ma Vreedle roll down the window. "What's you want, bug boy?" Ben then said, "Just want to know what brings you to Earth." I'm sorry, Ms. or Mrs. Vriedel." The woman said, "Ms. Ma ain't talk with Pa, but simple I want water to work a cloning machine to make more of my perfect little angel pretty boy Vriedel." The bug then said, "And how much water are we talking about, Ms.?" She then smirked and said, "All of it, bug man." In a moment Ben hit the dial, becoming ultimate big chill, then as a red spot, "I can't allow you." Ma went to hit him with a bag, but he phased through and breath his ice fire, making Ma Vriedel shatter by moving to Ben's shock. "Nice try. I respect that, boys, fire." Big Chill was then forced to avoid laser fire as Boyd and Octagon on the back fired as Ben said, "Really, you're scared of your mother?" Boyd then spoke up, "Yes, along with that trash monster that got the drop on her," he said, firing. Ben hit the dial, becoming chromastone, absorbing the blast. "Boys, your red spots. You are supposed to be heroes now. Look, stop this, look right behind you, that cloning machine is the key to it. Just shot it. Come on boys, do it. Do your jobs as red spots." The truck landed and in a moment the machine turned on by plugging into the water, pumping out pretty boys. The boys looked between the two things Boyd tried to fire by Ben absorbed it and said, "Dude. I am trying to help you." Octagon looked to his brother, "Boyd, why the hells did you shoot our buddy?" he asked, stunned. The bigger one said, "Us just figured Wes do what Wes always do and shots." The smarter one adjusted his hat, "Sorry Boyd, but this is one of those rare times where it's not the answer. If we shot everything then we'll end up shooting Ma." The bigger one jumped and yelled at the statement. Octagon then held up his gun, "This is a real problem, brother, as Ben points out Wes have to choice between Ma, and doing our jobs. Nature or nurture." The bigger stupider Vriedel was crying, "But us don't wants either of those things, brother." Ben timed out and crossed his arms as he said, "And neither does he, but he is at least facing it like an adult. If it helps, if this works, you will have billions of younger brothers." The two looked back at the growing pretty boys and pictured him everywhere as the only thing they could see, and they locked and loaded as Octagon said, "Ben, once again you are the voice of reason in our meetings," he said, pulling his badge out of his hat and putting it on, making his suit appear. Boyd pulled his badge out of his overalls and put it on, getting his, "So Wes agree that's too many pretty boys." The smaller one did, and he fired on the cloning machine, breaking it, making his Ma turn and yell, "What did you just do, young man?" Boyd was shaking, but Octagon said, "Simple our jobs, so how despite all odds we came into having a code of conduct." The mother crossed her arms and shoot him, and "Are you kidding me, look." The big guy held up his arm and said, "We's just as stunned as you, Ma, but right now the code said we's has enough pretty boys, I means look, island is full. Ain't no point in killing planet Earth, we's has friends here somehow." Again we are just as shocked. Ma Vriedel blinked and said, "What in tarnation did I miss while you were locked up?" Octagon was shaking as he held the gun, "Clearly a lot. Now Ma, you have lots of pretty boys likes you wanted. The Earth people don't all die by running out of water. Everyone can just leave happily, no problems, real peaceful like. So how about we's all do that?" The big woman got closer and said, "Are you ordering UMA?" She sounded angry. In a moment a panicked Boyd shot his mother in the face. It did nothing. But the woman smiled as she said, "And look who showed up, men," she said, smiling. She hugged both to their shock. "My boys finally grow a spine. Okays, don't you do that again, but I will let it go in honor of this amazing day. I never thought would's happen." She whistled for the pretty boys to get in the back of the truck as she got in and said, "We'll just call me leaving peaceful like your first gift form, Ma. Because you finally made me proud." She then flew off with them. Boyd then fell over, not believing what happened. Octagon blinked as he looked to Ben, "Yous won't say a word of this, right?" Ben shrugged, who would believe this SHT anyhow. Later on, back in Vegas. At an outdoor tennis court, Ben and Jessica were in tennis outfits playing, but the couple's game was soon interrupted by an alien ship that looked like a cube landing. The alien looked and spoke, "Device is attached to unknown equine life form." Ben let the ball fly past as he said, "Sir, may I help you?" He sounded sarcastic. The alien said, I am Tekadon Weapon Inspector 13. You used the Omnitrix to defeat our machines. It's bad for business. Deploy net gun, he said as it fired, netting Ben up so he couldn't move. Jessica was about to scream, but Ben said, don't worry, I'll escape. Once inside, Ben was hooked up, and as the alien grabbed a saw, Ben said, do that, and boom. The alien paused his action and said, define boom. The unicorn smirked, simple, cut it off my arm, it self-destructs with enough charge to, oh well, this ship and all in it will be destroyed for sure. The alien put down his tool and picked up a hacking tool, then we most hacked the Omnitrix. Ben smiled and said, first it's the Utah Matrix, the Omnitrix was destroyed, this is a recreation of it, or bootleg model if you will. The alien nodded and said, noted, device is bootleg Omnitrix and isn't a complete copy of the Galvan tech, but device still works, so will be good enough to improve Tekadon weapon systems. Ben rolled his eyes and said, don't you feel horrible about what you do? How much death and destruction you cause? The inspector then spoke up, I make devices. What those who buy the device do with them is not my fault. I am just doing my job like anyone else. Ben nodded and said, noted and true, after all, just because you make a weapon doesn't mean it'll hurt someone, someone has to pick it up and use it to cause harm. That's what makes the Ultimatrix a weapon, as it's how I use it. In a moment it said, MSTR control unlocked. The Tennyson smiled, and there is where you have errored. The alien looked as Ben said, Ultimatrix ultimate way big. In a moment Ben transformed the growth, smashing the ship as Ben broke out of it, crushing everything inside, as Jessica was sitting on a bench watching as she said, and new record, she sat happily. In the ruins of the ship Ben looked down as he grabbed a piece of the wall and threw it into space. He did so with the rest of the ship till nothing was left but the floor under his foot and the inspector, who was stunned. Ben then grabbed the alien as he said, statement was correct, I have errored. He was then thrown into space and Ben timed out and walked off. He then quickly set the Utah Matrix to reset to its backup form this morning, not letting them get anything or put any virus in this thing. Meanwhile, in the realm of magic, Kevin was absorbing magic stone to smash a stone creature while he watched Morning Star in his golden state attack Queen, and he said, Yo-Yo Charmcaster, what you see in him is a lie. He got hurt because he tried to drain Queen dry, he said, making a mace hand to smash the stone beast. The caster then growled, yeah, so did it. Kevin rolled and said, he went on a date with Gwen, he said, trying to get her to turn on him, but Charmcaster said, so I kissed you. Gwen was in anodite form trying to outfly him, come on Kevin, I know you can do this. Just hurry up. That is when the guy made a big hand and opened it to use the large open palm as a shield. He did the same thing with the other one, holding off stone creatures. Come on Kevin, think. Come on. My little sisters hate it when people say their names wrong. That's it. Hey Morning Star, what's her real name? The golden guy stopped and she said, what does that even matter? The witch queen stopped and put her hands on her peach, I told you it, now what is it? The golden guy rubbed the back of his neck nervous as Gwen flew beside Kevin and kissed his cheek. This is the smartest thing you have ever done. The former handsome devil muttered, ho, ether. 5 seconds later he was back to zombie banging on the door, calling out Everlady's name he knew starting with an H, while Kevin and Gwen watched happily. Kevin crossed his arms, I won with my brain, no one will believe this. I'm here and I don't believe it. Later on at the Levin household, Kevin was under his car working on it as Silver Spoon said, so there is 7 months till a war and most of the heroes are in Vegas and you're just chilling? The older brother said, yep. The little filly said, aren't you worried? The big guy under the car said, yep. The gray-colored mini-mare the masked, then why aren't you acting like it? Kevin continued doing what he was doing, not going to change facts. Besides that, the cult one in the fraction who still thought Vilgax was Diagon found out the hard way as he took the sword form the real one's heart only to become his true self and sucked into the resealed lock we made on the alien. Looks like this war is going to happen in the middle of a demon's arrival, going to be a cluster F. Let's try not to think about it, you'll fry your brain. Silver Spoon's jaw dropped as he came out, besides that we have a lot of power on our side, Ben, me and Ollicorn, Gwen and Asmuth in that order. But I hope I don't have to live up to my secret weapon status, he said, grabbing a wrench and heading back under it. Silver Spoon then made the mistake of, why? Kevin then said, it would mean absorbing energy from the Ultimatrix to get all of Ben's powers at once, doing that makes me mutate into a twist mix and match part monster, and as it overstrains my powers I go crazy becoming a monster. I couldn't handle 10 as a kid, I know I couldn't handle 10 now, let alone the what 80 he has now. Silver Spoon took a phone and searched, Kevin, Monster Kid. And sure enough Kevin as Kevin 11 showed up and she screamed before dropping her phone. Kevin then asked, looked it up. The lady then said, yep. You were scary big brother. Meanwhile out in the Vegas desert. Ben was brainstorm as Jessica was recording, okay Ultimate Brainstorm go. Ben then turned the dial changing. Ultimate Brainstorm grow almost as large as his predator species. His limbs became each 3 taloned legs super long. Most of the body's height was those legs. The head was 3 times bigger and longer with a vent allowing it to shoot lighting while protecting its brain. Its shake made it and spikes running down it make it look like the crab had a mohawk. The ultimate dial was on top of the face between the eyes making it look like a nose. As Ben walked around with them, I look like a giant spider. He said as he used the hand like pensier to rub his underbelly as he fired off lighting up form his head massively. It was to scale making it look like a thunderstorm had come. As he said, well the basic powers are turbocharged and with the size a default would be super strength but not too fast, so much bulk any wrong place for that. And is the size really worth it? He said rubbing his chin before he noticed something. There was a spark of lighting shaped like an hourglass above him. Did I do that? It became a question mark. He rubbed where his chin would be and thought about a smiling face, and it happened. I have emojis as a form of sigh long nice, but can I do more with this? He said as he made the word what appear and he nodded. Next he made what looked like a humanoid figure dancing before adding another figure to dance with it. Slowly the figures morphed into his default form dancing with Jessica in fancy royal ball outfits with a background of a ballroom springing around them. Jessica was red as she said, oh my. But is that useful in a fight? Ben made his scene vanish as he held out his frontmost left pensier leg and formed in it form lighting what looked like a lance, and he used it to stab the ground. It's hot enough to superheat air around it where I want it to be, allowing it to become plasma for plasma cutting, so yes I can create blades of energy. He said making his weapon vanish as Jessica's jaw dropped as he gasped, like in the comic books. Ben nodded before deciding to play with the power. He covered himself in lighting making him look like a glowing giant spider as he walked around. Yes I can make an electric shell for defense. He then used this to grow all the spikes on him into large plasma blades, and more. And with my boost lighting abilities I dare say this is the most powerful ultimate. Good think we handled that area and set free the self-aware ultimates before using this one. He then traded the armor for a lance for each leg, allowing him to stilt walk, doubling his already massive height so he could stand above Brainstorm's natural predator. Yes I do say this form is overpowered, wouldn't you agree my darling? Jessica nodded as she said, you're more of a giant monster than the dinosaur. Ben nodded as he timed out, hope I don't need to use him anytime soon. Unknown to Ben he would soon have that. As elsewhere in the sand something was waking up something big as it shocked, grabbing free of the stone around him to roar. It was a dragon roaring. In the middle of the desert, Ben as the new ultimate Brainstorm was firing energy bolts from his vent at the dragon, hitting it making part of the skin crack off to reveal a machine under it as it took flight breathing fire. The ultimate made an electric energy wall before it to block the fire. It's a forever night robot dragon. Then let's break this ultimate in style, he said, jumping up high and spinning while covering his claw hands/feet with electric blade constructs making him into a giant spinning buzz saw. With slashed off a wing, and as Ben stopped spinning to hold his dizzy head with one leg and stand on 5 other ones using stilts to not fall. Yeah, that was stupid for such a smart creature. Well, robotic monster of the night's little anti-alien cult, what is your next move? He said, seeing the thing flying in place breaking fire making him jump. How I clipped your wing. Wait, maybe they are just for steering. He said, seeing it still hovering but not moving. Yes, they control directional force. Without both you are stuck in midair, unable to move. Much like an old school video game final boss. He then leafed his front stilt holding hand and jumped forward using it as a lance to hit it in the stomach making it shut down and fall to the ground below as he said, and that handles that. he said, dropping the constructs to land on his feet and time out as he smiled, and battle-tested. Meanwhile, in Kevin's car he was rolling with Gwen, who was using that doll they got from Jennifer's mother to track her. In the back seat was Tiara and Silver Spoon. Diamond crossed her arms. I can't believe he kidnapped her again. Gwen looked to the doll. For all we know, the kidnapping could have been stunt to get the media on her end. And the track is fading as it seems like she is losing herself. Kevin rolled his eyes. Yeah, that makes sense for someone paid to pretend to be someone else for a living. Only a matter of time before they go nuts, thanks to realizing everyone only likes the people they pretended to be, not them. Silver Spoon blinked as she said, I read something about that, she said, adjusting her glasses. Tiara was trying to argue, but they pulled up to the building and parked. Kevin said, stay here. He and Gwen came out, and in a moment the two little sisters snuck out, like how they snuck into this trip just in time to see Jennifer in the exosuit defending Captain Nemesis form an anodite energy blast. Kevin jumped on the neck, absorbing its metal as he ripped out the spine, making it shut down. Nice try, but this time people will know the truth of this, all a stunt to get the focus on you, Jennifer. The two sisters looked sad and turned away. Tiara said, she had it all, why do this? Silver Spoon sighed, you saw her mom, she doesn't have anyone who cares about her, only her monkey, or who she pretends to be. That super villain was probably the closet thing she had to a friend. Tiara sighed, I miss Equestria, things were simpler there, she said sadly, getting back into the car and buckling much like Silver did. So when Kevin and Gwen came out with the dup cuff, they had no idea the two got out and looked. And they drove off. Meanwhile, Jessica was talking with Ben on a rooftop, so getting closer and closer. My time as the main actress is over, so we will be kissing Sin City goodbye and this showgirl outfits goodbye as well. Ben sighed sadly at the last part. Well, it had to end sooner or later. I just want to get this war over with and move on. It's dragging, but getting here, he said, putting his hands in his pocket. So much on me, it's scary. What if I fail? What if I fall? What if we lose so much the win is pointless? Jessica hugged him and gave him a kiss to shut him up. You won't lose, you won't fall, and no matter the lose, the win will protect thousands in the future. Ben hugged her and sighed. What would I do without you? He said, holding her, and she cuddled into his fur, so soft and warm. Later on they were all returning home, the Tennyson women going change back into their normal outfits. Pinkie Pie smiled, and she then blew a kiss as she headed outside to go burn her showgirl outfits with her sisters and mother in the back hard happily. With Jessica joining them. On Primus, Eunice was working as Asmuth told her on a speaker, it's too late, something made our math go wrong. Meanwhile in a plumber base the gang was prepping for war. Jessica had her hands on her peach as she looked to Ben, don't you die on me. Ben held her hand and kissed it as he said, won't dream of it, appealing. Elsewhere. Carl was getting in their mech suit as Sandra held the now toddler Megan, watching as her dad. She went, Dada. The stallion smiled, it's okay sweetie, daddy will be back. Elsewhere in it Alan was fired up as Applejack crossed her arms, remind mes again, why's me and my sisters have to go on the colony ship? The human spliced with alien DNA said, simple, your line be of defense. If we fail today, the colony ship you are all going to be on could be an attack target. It's just defense. Besides that, while I know you can handle Forever Nights, we're fighting where a demon is sealed, and it is probably going to want to join the cluster if we are calling a war. The mayor nodded, adjusting her hat, well, us still don't likes it. Don't y'all die on us. Not too far away Rainbow was having a similar conversation with Pierce as she removed a feather and handed it to him, take it for luck, Spike head. He smiled as he did so and removed one of his quills and handed it to her. Some to you, bright lady of the sky, he said as he put the feather into his belt. Rainbow put it in the side, I want you to know I'm glad I met you. Thanks for teaching me how to drive so I can use a mech suit. And also thanks for sanding down your quills on date night. The half-alien then smiled as he said, yeah, they aren't sanded down, I can control the point, I simple have them act like human hairs and move out of the way when not fighting, he said, pushing some down then making them pop out, and he couldn't do it. The mayor blinked and said, weird, but I'm a bipedal flying horse who can sit on clouds and manually manipulate them to control the weather, so I'm pretty weird too. Not too far from them Twilight was running a test as she and Copper checked the base and said, well, it's ready. I can't believe it's ready, but it is. Copper adjusted his armor. I know I would rather be here. My powers are more suited for this, but my tech control powers work too well for turning off the Forever Knight's new heavy energy-based weapon systems. The Alicorn nodded as she put a hand on his shoulder and kissed him. You come back to me. Elsewhere. Pinkie Pie was in the cells talking to Adam as she said, so you decide to cut work release early, why? The former knight said, simple, the guys that are being battled are still people I called friend and some family. I don't want their BLD on my hands. So I'm sitting it out, Pinkie Pie. The pink mare put a hand on his shoulder and rested her forehead on his. I understand this is all crazy. One big bloody battle in a pit holding a demon that Vilgax's cult fraction end up feeding him too. One, I just know Vilgax is going to come out of there and F this all up massively. He nodded as he said, I know, I believe you. George's old time believes is going to get all those men killed. Most of them are good and can only see aliens as monsters. Most of them never had a Pinkie Pie to show them better in the middle of multiple brawls till it became a relationship. Pinkie Pie gave a kiss to her boyfriend through the bars. Yeah, but I'll be here with you through this. Above them. Rarity was looking at Rook, now an official red spot read for action, as she said, too bad this is your first day, darling. The alien nodded, but I will just have to have faith in my prototool, he said, holding it in blade mode before changing to shield, my marital art skills and most of all your elder brother. He is the leader of this charge after all, while Magister Tennyson stays here to command the colony ship mode of the base. Rarity rolled her eyes to most of the red spots that were new. Ben was the invincible hero type that couldn't fail, but to her he was just her elder brother who had flaws like anyone. He was rude, headstrong, formed the media. But he was also a good man who would do anything in his power to help or protect others. He was a person, not a hero. And he wasn't unbeatable. Not too far away from them. Fluttershy was sitting into a chair buckling up as Discord appeared and said, oh my darling, why are you roping yourself into a chair? Fluttershy saw on a monitor those going to fight leaving. The base is about to take off. In a moment everyone was off and Max hit a button making the underground base shoot out towards space, making Discord hit the ceiling and turn flatter than a pancake form force as they took off, while Fluttershy in her seat, her legs crossed, reading a magazine. Oh my, this is a lot of pressure. It then stopped and Discord fell to the floor like a leaf formed the artificial gravity. Elsewhere on Earth at the pit. The Forever Knights were meeting the Plumber army and everyone charged. Ben saw the leader of the Knights heading into a cave and in a moment became fast-tracked to head off after him. Where he came to the now broken seal and the mutated Vilgax. Fast-Track stopped with a skid as he said, I owe Pinkie so much money now. Looking ugly squid face. Vilgax roared as he ran at the leader of the Forever Knights as he called out, Diagon made me his herald, he will come when I call for it. So I will enjoying laying waste to this world and your armies. Outside. Alan was riding on a cloud of fire throwing fireballs at knights whose shields were shut off by copper. Pierce was protecting the technology controlling buddy of his. Beside Rook, who using the blast mode of the prototool. Carl Tennyson was charging with the drill-armed racer mech, smashing through a line of energy shields formed Forever Knights to hit them with the drill arm thanks to the speed, but the shields still wrecked the drill arm. The drill fell off only for Kevin to run out up and absorb metal and use his powers to fit a new drill to it. Go hurry up, I hope my mom and sisters are okay. Gwen was in the air in anodite form on a platform raining down mana blast like crazy, making it look like a massive set of blasters were raining fire down upon the knights below. Stand clear. Back in the cave, Ben was panting as he jumped away from George's skull as the monster went to grab the sword. Ben hit the timed out Utamatrix only for the evolved dial to appear on him in a moment. He charged in with XLR8 speed. A ghostly image of the change behind him would then change to Atomix's image as he punched Vilgax's stomach, sending him flying out of the cave. The ghostly image changed to Jetray as Ben flew out at his speed into the battlefield, smiling as he said, I'm Ultimate Ben. F yeah, he said, smiling as his ghostly image changed to Diamond Head and he summoned crystal spikes form below, hitting knights as he said, and it's Tatanite thanks to this being Ultimate Diamond Head. His ghostly image quickly changed to Ultimate Way Big as the ghostly image fired the evolved cosmic ray down upon Vilgax and into the knights. Vilgax roared, getting up. Such power given to such a youth, it must be a burden to have the weight of the universe trust upon such small shoulders, he declared, moving along through the Utliamp's fire stream till he grabbed Ben, making the image vanish. And that weight slows you, boy. I care for nothing but power, I fight for no one but myself, so I am strong. That is when the image of Ultimate Humongosaur appeared behind Ben as he fired off biological missiles point blank on Vilgax's face. Fighting for others is what makes me strong, Vilgax. It's how I've defeated you since I was 10. Vilgax was forced to let go by instinct as he stumbled back. I will never understand you, Tennyson, you could be a god, he said, firing off an energy way. Only for Chromastone to appear behind Ben, and he absorbed and fired back the blast, enchanced, knocking him back. I don't want to be a god sitting on a golden throne. I want to be a man directly shaping all around me for the better, he declared, making fist as he charged. Utliamp Wrath appearing behind him as he landed slashing claw strikes to Vilgax's stomach. But the squid kept regenerating as he laughed. Oh, childish. You haven't grown at all, Tennyson. Ben growled as behind him NRG appeared and he fired off radiation blasts from his eye, knocking him down. No, I have squid face. I am a man fighting for what he loves, not a kid wanting to be a superhero. I am a hero, he said as Ultimate Echo became the alien behind him, and he summoned thousands of sonic discs to fire on Vilgax, making him hold his head and scream. But Vilgax smirked when he saw something in the sky as he roared, releasing a shockwave that destroyed the disc as he laughed. Such a fool. In the battlefield, Vilgax's shockwave knocked over everyone. Alan used his fire to burst out from under rubble as he said, okay, sound off, he's dead. Manny pushed of rubble, freeing him, and Helen. Pierce dug out with his quills, smirking as he stood up. Cooper came out of the rubble with a wrist shield made into a bubble. So happy I boosted this. Rook likewise was coming out holding his weapon in shield mode as he said, very much so, dude, he said, trying to fit in. Carl opened the lid of the racer mech. The machine was buried up to the waist in rocks, the lower body was smashed, leaving it a torso and its one arm. This is of no use anymore, he said, getting out as he looked to it. Wait, Sir George's sword. He went into the cave Vilgax came out of with the blade, and it didn't come out with him. Cooper used his wrist device to scan for Galvan Tech. He's right, it's there, it beat Diagon once, so I should do it again, or at least his minion. Also light size show all Forever Knights dead, sir, within a 10-member margin for error. As more plumbers dug themselves out, Carl was first to say, the war is won but the battle is just beginning. Above on the station, everyone not fighting was watching on screens from Jessica's mothers hugging their daughter in fear, to Max crying about the possibility of his son dying, to Sandra who was trying to calm Megan down, to even the criminals in the cells. Dr. Onimo looked to the brain in a jar that was his brother. Is it wrong that I am rooting for Tennyson here? The brain then said, a win for Vilgax is the end of Earth and all of research and experiments become for nothing. So no, it is correct to root for Ben Tennyson. This day. The next cell opened. Pinkie was screaming to Adam about calling Vilgax showing up. Meanwhile below, Vilgax heard Siphon call out, it is ready, MSTR. The squid roared as he said, Diagon, come forth. In a moment the sky opened all the way to space as the demon appeared roaring, ready to end Earth. Before Vilgax's henchman hit a button, hitting a beam at the demon and at Vilgax, who growled as the monster was turned to energy and entered him. Yes, I have converted his wavelength to something else and added it to the power he gave me. Diagon and I are one, he declared, waving his hands, turning the pit they were fighting into what looked like a temple dedicated to himself as he laughed. Ben had timed out of his ultimate and the Ultimatrix was on the recharge. The squid slowly walked to him. Finally, I shall end you, Tennyson's. But in a moment 3-mana blast hit Vilgax, knocking him back. There was the anodite forms of Sunny, Gwen and Verdona with the grandmother saying, you forget we Tennyson have more skill with being energy beings to you do, Vilgax. The squid roared, making his temple vanish back to the pit as he took on Dagon's form but with his face, and I have more power than you three. Ben then quickly hit the dial the moment it turned green to become Automix. Moments later he hit the dial again, turning the alien into a humanoid being of green energy with the dial on his chest as he held out his hand to fire energy beams with his cousins and grandmother, and now we are even, squid face. But I have backup. Gwen was first to speak up, you're overtasking the Ultimatrix right now, Ben. The shape-shifter looked to her, if it breaks it breaks. As long as the Earth still stands it's a win, he declared. Earning smiles formed the three energy being ladies. Sunny smiled as she made a dome to cover eye beams form Vilgax as she said, yeah, now this is a party. Sorry me and Grandma came late. Gwen smiled as the four of them untied to fire off one large mana blast matching Vilgax's 2 in power, holding it back as Ben said, think nothing of it. Saving the universe is a family business after all. On the station, Cinnamon ran to the dashboard and spoke into a control right under Max, come in ground team, come in ground team. Carl's voice came up making Megan stop crying and smile as she heard her dad say, we are all accounted for and alive, believe it or not. We are after the original Knight Sword. It can absorb and store energy as Diagon is now nothing more than energy within Vilgax. We figured it can handle the job. He said, looking to Kevin using stone shovels to dig out the cave, but the cave caved in. We need time for Kevin to dig. Above, Sliver, Spoon, Tiara and Pam started leading the other ladies on board in cheering for the team. Meanwhile with the fight, Ben was struggling beside his grandma and cousin, his Dale cracking and sparking as he said, when you were right, I am overtasking it, he said, fading between his anthro-human normal automix and current ultimate form. Ultimate Ben took too much out of the bootleg. Verdona looked worried, Ben please hold on honey. Sunny screamed out using both her hands with their combined blast, yeah come on BEN10. Gwen then continued, this isn't you Ben. If you go down it's with a bang, she said worried. In a moment Ultimate Automix stabilized on his ultimate form for a moment as he declared, watching his Dales and cracks glow, you're right. In a moment his part of the blast grow, making the blast go form pink with a green line to one massive green blast with pink spirals that pushed back and hit Vilgax. The squid was knocked back to his original, mutant form. He still had his power, he was just stunned from the attack that hit him. He was on the ground getting up as he saw Ben breathe as the dial fell apart, returning him to his anthro form. His wrist that held the Ultimatrix battle burned, robbed of burn. He held it screaming, even now you stand in my way. He said, moving. Verdona charged out, pushing all the mana she could gather into a blast, but Vilgax walked through it and knocked her away. Gwen and Sunny combined, forced by holding hands and firing together to match their grandmother, but while it took him longer Vilgax walked through and knocked them away, leaving the now shapeshiftingless Ben and him. The anthro fired off mana blast form his horn. It did nothing as Vilgax grabbed him. Ben Tennyson, you struggle, bite and claw till the end. I respect that, but it's finally over as it should have been. A moment later Carl in knight armor came out holding the blade and slashed Vilgax, taking away his powers, returning him to his normal form. In shock the alien dropped Ben. Too bad you forgot about his dad, he said, spinning the blade sending Vilgax flying into a rock where he was knocked out. Moments later Ben, holding his wrist, went to hug his dad, but Azimuth showed up with Eunice and Eunice smiled and said, you did good Tennyson clan, she said happily as she pointed to Ben's burned wrist. Ben looked to it, to see the complete Omnitrix. He smiled, the complete Omnitrix. Moments later Carl stabbed the sword into the ground, making his armor vanish. Take the sword, Azimuth. In a moment the Galvan nodded, touching it, making it vanish. It is over, you did us all proud, Ben. Now go back to the station to your girlfriend, she is worried, with the rest of the family. The war was over a week ago, and that time summer had started following the high school graduations of our heroes, while most of the Tennyson were backing up to go to a beach planet for vacation. Megan, who was walking around now seeming like 4, looked around and asked, where Big Brother? Rainbow Dash petted her head. Ben is meeting up with us later when Jessica and her moms show up. He has something he needs to do right now. Before she could ask, the little filly was picked up by Carl, who said, now come on young lady. Meanwhile in the bayou far away, Bray walked over to see Ben at the edge of it. So you're still in a hiding mood, grandson? Ben turned, looking at the Omnitrix and his arm around it. The fur grew back darker than before, making it so his arm was a reminder of the war. Thanks to a scar, I can't help but think back to that day I almost died. The werewolf then said, yes, but you didn't, you lived because you were not alone. And what makes you think being alone will stop that? From what I know about Cutie Marks, the fact that Dial is yours means everything. The teen hero made a fist and looked back. It's not that, Grandpa. I am here because I need to do some searching, that has been bothering me, something I need to face since last time we were here. Bray rolled his eyes. Last time after the lich you came back pale and won't head back out into the swamp and stayed by the fire. Ben nodded as he walked off, into it as he sighed. He didn't tell anyone this but he found a freaky place in it. One that brought his worst fear to life and he ran like a coward, tail between his legs literary. He soon came to the hollow tree again walking and formed the water almost like being molded by it Vilgax with the omnitrix formed. In a moment there was 2 bright green flashes. The next second 4 arms was ducking to avoid Wrath's claws. The red alien hit the dial becoming water hazard to fire off a jet of water hitting the tiger knocking him back. The tiger turned into NRG and fired off a radiation blast into the stream. The steam blinded the area and when it was over 2 wild mutts the Ben 10,000 versions roared as they were locked front claws to front claws. Both jumped back to become fully bloomed swampfire to throw fireballs at one another. Fire met water making more steam blinding the area farther, formed the steam jumped back crush hopper as stinkfly flow out. The flying bug fired off slime blast only for the jumping bug to avoid them easily. Crush hopper hit its dial becoming upchuck where it eat in the rotten dead trees to fire off explosive slime ball at the bug. The bug slammed its dial becoming lodestar whose magnetic force field protect him as he landed and charged forward. Upchuck jumped to avoid the ram and hit his dial becoming heat blast who covered the magnetic alien in flames making his powers fail. With forced the alien to become Arctiguana to breath ice to counter, covering the swamp in steam again. When the blinding was over and done. The 2 aliens fighting were Ghost Freak and Big Chill. The ghost using its tendrils as a makeshift shield to block an ice mace-covered fist. Both aliens jumped back both fighters panting heavily but they hit the dials while charging. Big Chill became Humixor full-sized going in for a double axe handle but the Ghost Freak became Diamond Head who dove stretching his crystal blade hand to strike and stab the dial on the other. In a moment the dinosaur timed out into Vilgax, as Ben fired off a shard while getting off hitting and making the squid turn into water. Ben then timed out panting as he walked along. Okay, now I'm ready, he said happily walking off his old self returning after facing the fear of losing the Omnitrix to Vilgax. Meanwhile, on the space station, Blukik and Dryba were repairing the racer mech giving it a hover system instead of treads and 2 matching arms as Dryba said, I don't see why we need this thing. Blukik was quick to hold a hand up, because without it Carl would have died, and if he died he won't have gotten the sword. And if he ain't gotten the sword Vilgax would have phoned and become the new MSTR of the universe with Diagon's power. So we owe it our asses. They nodded. Meanwhile in the hangar Jessica was packed with Lucy and Jessie as Portaler opened a portal allowing Ben to roll out and time out, and I am back. Had to go face my worst nightmare in a magic part of the bayou my werewolf grandpa lives in. Man, my life is weird. Jessica hugged her and said, yep, and we have 2 more surprised. In walked Cinnamon, Gwen, Kevin and Eunice. The other redhead said, Primus is being shut down as your Omnitrix has it all now. So Dad sent me here wanting me to become a bit more human. She then gave a flirty peach bump to Cinnamon. With made the cowgirl jump and say, hey, I only like guys lady. Eunice snapped her fingers and let out a darn. Jessie blinked and said, I said the same thing when I slide out. She crossed her arms wondering how her daughter's copy could be more like her than her baby. The ship then rolled up, as Kevin said, you should, those boys can handle this, they are rookies. Ben then said, rookies dating Tennysons, as he got on, that says it all. Later on while everyone was in swimwear, while most of them had their normal. Megan had a black one with built-in life vest and water wings on. Lucy had a white one-piece same as her wife Jessie. Eunice smiled wearing Jessica's spare as she said, my bias will get a boy or girlfriend this trip I swear. Cinnamon was in a blue bikini adjusting her hair like Applejack. She kept her hat on. She looked up the purple sky, green clouds and rainbow sun above, stunning. On the beach planet Twilight was walking around its city smiling, no one staring. Finally a normal girl again, she said giving a spin. It had been so long ever since she got her wings. She wasn't just a mare, she was a princess, then she was one of the aliens, but here she was just a woman enjoying the beach planet. It was a breath of fresh air. Only thing that could be better would be if Cooper was here to share it with her while they worked on some machine. That is when he noticed a WAP window and adjusted her beach bag. Looking in at the device in question, she went in to buy it as she had to show the others. Later on, while on the beach, she ran to Jessica, who was sitting down resting on Ben's chest as she held out the thing to show it to them. Guys, you see this? They looked at it. It looked like a broken Unitrix. Jessica held her chin. So you found one of those? Wait, we clone me again to make a third mermaid? Yeah, no. While talking, the mermaid looked at Eunice, striking out with, guys, one is enough. She then took it and threw it way into the ocean. I'll repay you later. Twilight blinked, but Rainbow walked over. Chill, sister, the guys are coming later, so just relax, she said, pushing her along, and stop thinking about universe saving. We had enough of that for a while with that war that turned into a slaughter. Fluttershy was walking by, speaking with Discord as she said, yeah, it horrible, but I am happy we won thanks to Dad, not Ben. I mean, Ben tried, but if Dad hadn't showed up thanks to the mech saving him, then. She was cut off as she started shaking, making her boyfriend hug her and pet her. Pinkie Pie sighed watching as them and pulled out a harmonica to play it as she said, I won't have this moments with Adam for another year. My man is a jailbird blues, she said, sitting down on a bench to play it. Applejack walked past, hand on a peach as she said, poor Pinkie Pie. She then looked to see Eunice striking out with another alien guy and rolled her eyes and walked over. Now Eunice, Lady Loki here, use trying to hard and coming off as pushing, dial it back. No pun intended. Eunice sighed, hands on her peach, yeah, but look at me, I have Jessica's figure. I should have dudes all over me like she does. Or at least did before she had Ben to share them off. The mayor then point to the water to make her look at it, and may be that there is the problem. Use looks like Jessica Jackson, Ben 10's girlfriend. Eunice face palmed, stupid, she said, running off. Later on, Eunice smiled. She had tied her hair blonde and trayed in her bikini for a white one piece, and soon smiled as guys were flirting with her. I was such an idiot. Now I look different, she said, smiling as she said, one at a time, boys. Rarity was walking by this tower over her arm as she said, really B? Lucy walked by and sighed, well, she's not my daughter, she just looks like her, but let her enjoy finally having people flirt with her. I know how horrible it is to feel alone, like no one wants you. It's how I was till Jessie asked me out. I basically DRG her to the movies right away. And I went to an all-girls school. I just used glasses as I couldn't pay for contacts and had this big horrible braces, plus I bloomed late, she said happily, looking at her ample chest. Rarity blinked and nodded. So you wear a stick with glasses and braces? Yeah, I can see that. So Jessie likes them. Dorky explains Jessica's attraction to my brother, he is kind of a dork too. Jessie hugged her wife from behind, yes I did. And as captain of the chess team she was the biggest nerd around. And still is, she said, hearts around her head. She works as a rocket scientist. I don't understand what she says about work, I just like hearing it, she said, cutting her wife like a love-sick puppy. Rarity blinked and said, oh, I am picturing things I do not want to, so I am going to go, she said, running off with a yell. Big brother brainstorm, now I need a memory erase. Meanwhile, Sandra was smiling in a beach chair watching Megan build a sand castle while smiling and giggling. An older alien kid then showed up and kicked it down, making her cry as he laughed. That is when Carl showed up and held out his badge. Hi, I'm Officer Carl Tennyson of the Plumbers. Did you just knock over my daughter's castle? See, now my family are the only members of our species, so you just commit an intergalactic hate crime. I hope you like juvenile detention centers as you're going there for a while. In a moment the bully rebuilt the castle just like it was, making the little girl clap as he ran off and said, I don't see no crime. Carl smiled as he sat down by his wife and laughed, I was lying through my teeth. We are classed as mutants. We aren't covered by hate crime laws and there was nothing illegal about it. Sandra covered her mouth and giggled, I love it when you do that. They then kissed. Megan meanwhile was adding another tower while standing, so her sand castle was as big as her, and she smiled happily as she added a little stick with a bandage on it to be the flag. She clapped at it happily as she used magic to make it look like fireworks were coming from it while giggling, it's finished. Yay! Later on, Alan, Cooper, Rook, and Pierce were coming off a ship where their girlfriends tackled them happily. Leaving Pinkie Pie to continue playing the blues on her harmonica. I feel like the spinster sister even though I have a boyfriend, he's just in jail, she said sadly, playing as her mane and tail went flat. Cinnamon walked out and petted her back. I know how you feel, Pinkie. I met my girlfriend in an alien transgender support group and her blue-skinned 4 arms but is in jail right now for self-defense in a bar fight. She broke a glass bottle to use as a knife against a trans hate group. She only got in trouble because the planet has an anti-weapon law, so by using a weapon she committed crime as the attackers were only using natural abilities. Pinkie Pie looked to her. Oh really, which plant is she on? Cinnamon, this one, she said, leading her to a jail where she sat down to speak on the phone to the woman on the other in a flat-chested female 4 arms who was blue. Cinnamon said, "Hi Lady Blue." The blue lady smiled, her red eyes shining. "Cinnamon, it's been so long. I'll be out in a month. I can't wait to hold you again," she said, putting a hand on the glass, an action copied by Cinnamon. Pinkie Pie sighed. "Yeah, this is worst. At least my love is where I can visit them all the time." She ate as her mane and tail repuffed, showing her turnaround as she left, putting the harmonica away into her mane. Before long the trip was over and everyone was back in Bellwood. Ben was walking around in a hoodie with the hood up at night, looking up at the sky. "Am I ready?" He then saw a light shining above and heading down and said, "Yeah, what's this then?" He soon turned into fast track and raced off. In the area that was once forest there appeared to be a western town willed with anthroponies dressed like the Old West. Ben was walking around, none of the ponies noticing anything wrong with him as he was blending well minus his chose of outfit. He walked into what looked like a bar. There he spotted a pony who had yelled for an orange hair, white button shirt, brown cowboy gloves, brown vest, bolo tie, blue jeans, brown cowboy boots and a cowboy hat. Ben sat down beside him and said, "You an apple?" He nodded as the pony said, "How did you know, stranger?" The green unicorn pointed to his hat. The pony looked up, blinking before taking it off and noting the band of his hat had an apple on the front of it. He put it back on, shrugging at it being fair. The yellow earth pony said, "Anyway, what brings you here, stranger? Use one of the new neighbors." Ben nodded as the yellow stallion said, "Explains the weird where you got on their partner." The hero rolled his eyes as he said, "Yeah, mind if I ask why you just appeared out of the area in the middle of the forest outside of Bellwood?" The pony blinked as he said, "The founders were woodworkers who made a giant wooden bell to get tourists in." The stallion nodded as he said, "Makes sense name-wise now," he said, taking a drink. "Form a drink. Well, I suppose you lot deserve to know why you got no ponies next door." Short answer: things back home were horrible. Something came make us this way and was slowly zapping magic away, so the princess had to send the few towns remaining to another world. This is just the random one Wes landed. Ben nodded as he said, "Yeah, makes sense, but trust me, me and my family are happy to have you. We're the only pony family in Bellwood," he said, pointing out how he didn't fit in anyway. Brayburn then blinked as he said, "Then what's next door?" The hero said, "Hold on, I have a picture. Taken at the last family reunion. I am part of the local species," he said, taking out a picture of the Tennyson family reunion. "The furless ones are humans. They are the most common on this world, smart on average, and only rarely have magic." Brayburn looked at it and said, "Well, if I ever see Lyra again I owe her 50 bits now." Ben nodded as he took it back. "Yeah, BTU, be warned, after this monster attack the place is on edge. More edge than you think." There was a ring making them look around as he sighed, putting the phone down and said, "Long-range talking device." He hit answer and the voice of Kevin came out. "Ben, man, where are you?" Ben replied, "Oh hi Kevin, just at a bar in Appaloosa. It's the town that appeared. Your adopted little sisters are ponies, maybe they heard of it. But I can't talk, eyes are on me." Kevin's voice sighed and said, "Don't do anything stupid now." Ben hung up and put it up. Brayburn rolled his eyes. He had heard of two-way radio, so as far as he and the rest of the ponies saw it, it was just a compact model. Brayburn then blinked as he said, "Wait a minute, let me see that picture again." Ben showed it as he said, "That's my cousin Applejack." Ben sighed. "She and her friends arrived in a flash of light like you did. My family took them in," he said, quickly taking it back. The western pony shot a glare. "Then can you use that machine to contact her?" The superhero used his phone to get OT contacts. "If she has hers on," he said, hitting Applejack. In a moment Applejack picked up and said, "Howdy Ben, reason of call." Brayburn then said, Applejack. The ponies walked away not interested in the two-way radio that was small. On AJ's and she was out shopping, Alan carrying her bags, Cousin Brayburn. Is that you? She then heard a yes. Wait, your town just appeared. Benny, why didn't you call sooner? Here is shopping to replace my hat when my kin is outside. Alan, honey, let's pay and get a move on. We'll be there in an hour. Benny, don't do something stupid. In fact, go brainstorm more gray matter to make sure of it. Back at the bar, Brayburn kept talking, but Ben said, dude, she turned hers off, just wait. Brayburn then take kindly to the statement, so he went to throw a punch only for Ben to hold up the Omnitrix, so Brayburn hit it and in a moment screamed, holding his fist in pain, my hand broke, your watch broke, hand. Within a second a bar brawl broke out. Ben was ducking and hide under a table as he looked through it. Really, we doing this Western CRP? He noticed a pony with a black hat holding an old-time revolver. That's a really fancy-looking timepiece you got there, partner. Ben nodded and said, yeah, it's in change to do things like this, he said, hitting it, becoming Diamond Head in the Ben 10,000 outfit with made the bullets crushed against his eye, and Ben punched the pony's block off as he got up. In a moment what looked like a bang were targeting, wanting what they just saw. One of the leaders, just in black with black bandit face mask, said, I wants that timepiece, partner. I reckon it doesn't last long and needs a break sooner or later. Ben made his hands into blades as he said, you reckoned right. But it will do you no good. He then hit his dial and became XLR8 and rushed, and in a moment the bandits along with ever pony else tried to fire but quickly heard bullets on the ground as Ben had timed out as he said, empty shells too. Took my change time, but you have no ammo. He then took a drink, formed the tap as he said, root beer nice. Let down but nice. In a moment the unicorns went to fire off magic rounds, but Ben made a shield. An hour later Alan and Applejack were showing up. AJ had changed to red shirt tied in front, jean shorts, cowgirl boots, a new hat with a green rim band and belt with a red spot badge on it. They then saw ponies flying out of a bar as Brayburn landed at her hooves. He said, howdy, cousin. I started a bar brawl by punching Ben, he won it. Ben walked out in a new black Weston hat with the rim up on the left side as he tipped it, don't mess with a Tennyson. AJ crossed her arms and said, should have said Brayburn, don't do nothing stupid. Oh well, we're here, how about we go check on some ponies we knows before leaving? But first, let's get Brayburn to the hospital. That's one broken hand what he did punch Diamond Head. Ben then said, no, the Omnitrix itself, he said, putting his hands in his pocket as he said, well, let's come on, he said, putting a toothpick in his mouth. That is when Ben heard the Omnitrix beep as he hit it. Oh, who's calling on the business line? Jessica's voice then said, me Ben, honey, it's not personal. Just reporting the area your end. Well, Onimo made his just a brain brother into a hat make an escape pod with his help, and they were last seen in the area. Alan then blinked as he said, the F. Meanwhile Onimo in his Omniverse look, but the drain was his brother. Professor Onimo said, I don't care if you don't like eggplants, brother, it's my body you're riding on, I will eat them. I can take you off and smash you. The brain then said, fine, can we just find this tech stash of yours and make me a new body? The doctor said, like, I want to share with you anyway, he said, pointing at it with hate. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 4. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author JBoy44 on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.